Good morning, everyone. You know, in Christianity, the Pope is called Your Holiness. In Judaism, on the one hand, we don't call anyone Your Holiness. But on the other hand, the name of this week's Torah portion is Kiddoshim. And the opening commandment says, Kiddoshim to you, you shall be holy, Ki Kadosh Ani, because I, God, am holy. The rabbis ask, how could God tell each and every one of us to be holy? Because He's holy. He's holy because He's God. But we're just human beings, so how could we expect it to be holy? And the answer is that in Judaism, holiness doesn't mean to be like God, completely detached from anything physical. It means bringing God's presence into everything in the physical world. Most importantly, in our mundane physical activities. When you look through the Torah portion of Kedoshim, this week's Torah portion, you find something interesting. That the vast majority of commandments are not about our relationship with God, but they are about our relationship with our fellow man. For example, you should not have a gossip monger amongst you. You should not put a stumbling block before a blind person. You shall judge your neighbor favorably. You should love your neighbor as yourself. You shall love the stranger because you are strangers in the land of Egypt. God is telling us that when He says He wants us to be holy, it doesn't mean that we should live aesthetic lives detached from physical reality in some mosque or in some monastery or in some mountaintop meditating and praying all day. It means be a human being, but a human being who lives by the divine, the reflection of Hashem in everything that they do. Is reflected God's holiness drawn into their physical lives. I have a colleague, his name is Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg. He's a rabbi at the Boca Raton Synagogue, and he told the following story that just happened. His daughter and son-in-law and children flew in from Israel before Passover to be with them in Boca Raton for the holiday. He drove down to Miami, picked up his daughter and son-in-law and children, loaded the car up with the suitcases, came back to Boca Raton. When they unpacked it, they realized that one little suitcase was missing. And unfortunately, that was the suitcase that had all the valuables. His daughter's jewelry was in there, his son-in-law's talus and tefillin was in there, and obviously they were very disappointed. So they drove back to Miami Beach, to the airport, and looked around, could not find the suitcase. They went into the airport, they spoke to the officials as they were lost and found. They looked, nothing. They can't find the suitcase. They said, could you check the security cameras? They said, we can, but it's going to take a few days. They came back to Boca Raton completely dejected. They had lost the suitcase with all the valuables in it. His daughter just said, you know what? Let me text a few people in Miami that I know to see if there's some kind of community chats, announcements that they could put it up, because I flew into Miami International. Maybe someone found it. She texts a few friends, and one of the people she texts is a woman that she knew that was a teacher in a Jewish school in Miami. Now this teacher happened to be sitting on a plane that was taking off. She was going out of town for Passover, and before takeoff she checked her phone and she sees a text from Rabbi Goldberg's daughter saying, hey, could you put up on the Miami chats that I lost my suitcase at the airport, maybe somebody knows anything about it. As she does that, reading this text, her phone rings. This woman on the plane, this teacher, and it's one of her former students. And a student said, hi, how are you? I just came back to Miami from Israel, from learning in the seminary, and when at the airport I saw this suitcase laying around. And there was a hat box on it, so I knew it belonged to a Jewish religious person, and nobody was around it. So I took it to return it, because the last thing I studied in seminary was a class about the obligation to return lost objects. So I said, let me return this. And I looked inside, I can't find the name, what should I do? And the woman on the plane says, wait a minute, what does it look like? And she gets the exact description. She then calls back Rabbi Goldberg's daughter and says, tell me about the suitcase, what did it look like? And they matched the identification, and it was indeed her suitcase. Within a few hours, Rabbi Goldberg's daughter had her suitcase back with all of her belongings in it. And besides the incredible divine providence that this woman should find it and then call her teacher, the same person that Rabbi Goldberg's daughter sent a text to saying, can you put it up on a Miami chat? And within a few hours they got it back. It shows us what the word Kedoshim means. Holiness means treating other people the way you want other people to treat you. It's about thinking about others, caring about others, going the extra mile for others. That's what holiness means. So in Judaism, every person is holy. Every person is commanded to be holy. Because holiness doesn't mean that you don't have a physical existence and you're just spiritual. It means that you're a physical person, but the way you treat others, the way you talk to others, the way you work in business, your ethics, your morals, your honesty, your respect for other people, your care and concern for others, that's what makes you a holy person. And therefore, yes, every single person has the ability to lead a holy life. Have a wonderful day.